Mr. Lawrence Thompson was a Vietnam veteran. He was born on May 16, 1949. His highest rank was an E5. His service dates were from August 14, 1969 to January 5, 1972. He was released from the war early because he had volunteered to serve longer. When you first got drafted, what did your parents have to say?
Oh, neither one liked it, but my mom, she wanted to give me money to go to Canada. And my dad said no. But I stayed. I went into service because I felt it was my duty because my father had went in World War II. What
did your friends think about it?
My friends felt sorry for me, but shortly after I left, they all left too, into the service.
When he was drafted, his parents wanted him to go to Canada. They didn't want him to go into the war. His parents cared for him and wanted him to give up his citizenship so they wouldn't risk him being dead. Even though they wanted him to go to Canada, he stayed. Mr. Thompson was brave. Most guys did try to go to Canada, yet his courage shined through. He was going to join the fight.
Why Canada?
Well, a lot of guys would go to Canada when they were drafted, just to get away from the draft. That way the government couldn't touch them.
Was that common?
A lot of them went.
Mr. Thompson felt it was his duty to serve in the war. While others fled to Canada, he went to war. He could have been working or learning about snowmobiles. They were new at the time. When you came back from Vietnam, was there any new advances in technology?
Yeah, because I come back in the wintertime with snow on the ground. And the first thing I run into new was my cousin had a snowmobile. And I had no idea what they were until we went out and looked at it and took a ride. Then I had to get me one.
Instead, he went to war. He went through basic training and slept instead of in a nice house in a bunker.
During his time in service, Mr. Thompson was in the 1st Aviation Brigade. He went through a lot of training and schooling to get to that position. He had basic training to build more muscle.
What physical activities did you do in basic training?
Basic training, you did everything they wanted you to. Set-ups, jumping jacks, running a lot. Push-ups, pull-ups, obstacle courses. They just kept you on the move all the time to get you in shape.
Tell me how that training affected you.
Oh, the first week was murder. The second week really wasn't any better. But as the weeks progressed, you become used to it, and you did get physically fit.
Mr. Thompson fixed planes for the military.
When an aircraft was shot down, or even if it had a malfunction, Mr. Thompson was part of the group that fixed the planes. His fellow crew members fixed and inspected any plane they needed to. Without him, many soldiers would have died from a mechanical failure. Mechanical failures were very common. That is why planes were checked after coming back to the landing area. Also, without Mr. Thompson, many planes wouldn't have been fixed or ready to go into combat.
Imagine a soldier dying without any fire or harm caused to him. If a soldier died because of a plane malfunction, it'd be a tragedy. Yet Mr. Thompson and his crew stopped such a thing from happening. Mr. Thompson would not allow his work to be anything less than the best of his abilities. A loss of one soldier could be a loss of the war. No soldier wanted to lose. He added on to the fight in hopes of victory.
Victory was what Mr. Thompson had wanted from the start. Yet, when he came home, how could victory be hoped for when people at home didn't support? A soldier coming home is naturally welcomed. This is far from true when it comes to Vietnam vets. They came home to a world that hated them. Some soldiers were beaten and even spit on if recognized as a Vietnam soldier. Mr. Thompson was well aware of this hate, and yet he knew he wasn't going to give up. He fought for what he believed was right, even if U.S. citizens didn't believe.
Mr. Thompson wrote home. He knew about the mixed feelings people had at home. Writing home and being aware of the situation made him less likely to be affected. He still proudly wore his uniform and medals.
Could you please explain those medals?
Well, the first one I got, I forget what it was called, but it was for Cambodia, and then the second one that I got with the oak leaf cluster on was because I was in 2 conflicts while I was stationed there.
Did you wear your medals home?
Yes, I did. Showing everybody.
home. As was said earlier, he was affected very little. Mr. Thompson was very proud of his medals and himself.
His favorite medal was the Oak Leaf Cluster. It was given to him for serving in 2 conflicts at one time. Mr. Thompson was very happy to receive that award, and I don't believe any U.S. citizen, no matter the profanities, could take that away. After the Vietnam War ended for Mr. Thompson, he went home and back to his former job.
Mr. Thompson went back to the same job he had before because they held that position for him. Soon after he was working, he met a lovely woman and started a family. He is still looked at as a very strong and courageous. He may not like to speak of the war, but you can tell he was an amazing soldier.